Yeah, anyway, you guys have a nice evening, right?
All right, my friend. Take it easy.
Sure. All right, buddy.
George,
Let's
I have one
see.
question.
Yes, sir.
Is this the same PowerPoint that you did at the, what was it, Nashua?
It is not.
No, okay, all right. I was wondering
Oh,
if
that
I'd
was
seen it
that
already.
was a while ago.
I went to one of your Ask
Yeah.
presentations, so,
Well, this is a different presentation, and it's largely Bob Wiley's work. And I'm going to let Bob. Bob, you with us? You here? He was here. He may not be in front of his computer right now. Let me. Oh, here he is. Bob, are you muted? I can't hear you. That is not good. You might want to unplug that headset and plug it back in. Your microphone's not working.
Okay, how about now? Can you hear me
That's
now?
better, much better.
Okay, good.
Now you're audible. So
All
Bob,
right.
I am going to put up the presentation. First, I'd better go get it on full screen before I put up the presentation. So bear with me just a second. Let's go to from the beginning. All right, Bob, I'm going to share the screen, and then I'm going to let you start us off.
Okay,
And everyone should be seeing our Facebook, our PowerPoint at this point. Are you seeing it?
everybody got that?
Yep.
Yes.
I see it.
Yeah.
Call it the elevator speeches. Yep.
Okay,
Okay, perfect.
Bob, take it away.
Okay. So
Tell
first
me
of
when you
all,
want to, tell me when you want a slide change.
okay. So first of all, I want to thank everybody for attending tonight. I know that here it is, a nice August night, and there's so many other things that you can be doing, and it's 8 o'clock, and some people are probably thinking about heading to bed almost. But thank you very much for attending. And just a couple of housekeeping chores. Number one is if you have any questions as we go along, please go into the chat and select George and leave the question for George. And we'll address all the questions at the end. And I guess the other housekeeping chore that most people usually have at seminars is telling people where the restrooms are, but I don't think I have to tell you where your own restroom is, so I think we should be all set there. And so this is a little different presentation in that it's going to be about the elevator speech and making the ask. The elevator speech is basically a 1-minute speech, and making the ask is probably even less than that. So we kind of had to ad lib a little bit, and we're going to talk a little bit more about background in terms of membership, because I think that that's important before we even get into making your presentation, trying to get some members on an, we call it an elevator speech, but it could be anywhere. And then also making the ask to have them come to another Kiwanis event. So George, if you go ahead and flip to the first slide.
Let's see if I can convince it to do that. Oh, I can. Okay.
Very good. Okay. So again, as I said, we're going to start with a little background. Kiwanis membership numbers already are down on a downward trend, have been for several years. And now we're faced with the extra challenge of a pandemic. So numbers wise, 30 districts in the United States and Canada, and only one had a net growth 2019 versus 2018. And then as far as our district goes, we have 21 divisions, and there was only one that had a net growth 2019 versus 2018. So again, these are numbers that we need to take a look at and just be mindful of as we try to grow our membership and try to do more things that we want to do in the community.
I'd like to add one small thing at this point, folks. Probably you all are aware of this, but I don't know how hard we've thought about it. Normally at this time of year, you get into August, September, and we are reluctant to bring new members into our clubs because we don't want to charge them a new member fee and then turn around and charge them for a year's dues in October. Well, this year, until October 1, there are no new member fees. Kiwanis International won't charge you any fees and the district won't charge you any fees. Now is the perfect time to bring new members into your clubs. And it won't cost you any extra. It won't cost that new member anything until they get the regular dues assessment with the rest of the members in October. Okay,
Thank you, George.
new page, Bob?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so now we're on to the membership challenges with COVID pandemic. So here we have some of the things that are additional challenges, and that is that the current members are apprehensive about continuing. I'm sure that everybody's had conversation with some of their members, and their members are saying, boy, we're just are not able to do the things that we used to do. This is not necessarily fun right now. So those are some of the things that we're facing. Members are facing financial hardships, challenges with having in-person meetings. Some people want to go back to in-person meetings. Some people are not comfortable with in-person meetings. So these are all very much challenging things that we have to deal with. And then there's also people that are been with us for a long time, and they're not comfortable meeting virtually. More challenges with staging service projects. Some clubs have been creative during this time period, being able to do things socially distancing for service projects, but there's a lot of clubs, my club included, that we tend to do a lot of things that are big service-oriented projects involving a lot of people. And so all of a sudden you have to start thinking out of the box. So challenges with asking people to become members. Again, this is the kind of thing where people are worried about themselves and they're not necessarily thinking about how can I help other people, because they need to help themselves. So next slide, if you would, George. Okay, so why join Kiwanis? For the 1 minute or elevator speech, here's a couple of points that we're making. It's a global organization with clubs in 82 countries with over 550,000 members. So it truly is a global impact company, or excuse me, organization. And a lot of people, that means something to people, that, hey, not only are you helping people here locally, you're helping people throughout the country and throughout the world. And more importantly, some people like to bring it down to the more local level. So yes, we are very strong at the district level. I'm sure everybody's very familiar with the KPTI that we've been working for many, many years at the Tufts Floating Hospital. And then, of course, even more importantly, if you're trying to get members for your own club, talk about something that's local in flavor. Talk about something that your club has done locally that all of a sudden their eyes will say, oh my God, I didn't know that Kiwanis did that. And one of the things that really, Kiwanis family, one of the things I'd like to mention is that the Kiwanis family includes, yes, it includes all of our members, et cetera, but more importantly, it includes the builders clubs that you might sponsor, the key clubs that you might sponsor, and yes, there are even some Circle K organizations that are sponsored. Okay, George?
Don't forget your K kids, because K kids, if you've got elementary school programs in your club, that's a huge selling point. When you've got K kids going out and doing community service projects, they're a great advertisement for Kiwanis. But it's really important, and this speaks more to branding and marketing than what we're talking about here, but it's really important that you let your community know that Key Club, that Circle K, Builders Club, K Kids, let your community know that that's Kiwanis. Sometimes we forget to do that branding, and it can cost us members. So just a thought.
George,
Yes, sir.
let's not forget the action clubs.
And let's not forget the action clubs.
They're a big part of our organization, not as big as the other area of clubs, but there are a lot of special people out there that would like to help the community.
Absolutely right, Daryl.
Thank you.
Daryl. Okay, so then we have benefits of membership, and George alluded to this a little bit, helping to improve the community. Talk about, again, local achievements, because those are the things that are going to get your members to your club. And a couple of things that are really good to mention is if your club sponsors key clubs or builders clubs, because certainly with key clubs, because there's a lot of people that are familiar with Key Club, but not necessarily familiar with Kiwanis Club. And they don't always know that there's a connection between Kiwanis and the Key Club. Next, working with children to develop community service and leadership. Again, you have the Key Clubs, Builders Clubs, but also there's a lot of clubs out there that sponsor Boy Scouts. And Boy Scouts are youth and children as well. And they do a lot of good things. So again, I think there's a lot of people that may not know that Kiwanis has a good association with the Boy Scouts. Networking. So this is, and I put this comment down, what's in it for me? Because oftentimes when you talk to somebody, that's the first thing that's coming to their mind. What's in it for me? Well, networking is one of the things that's in it for them. They can come to they can join Kiwanis and they can do a lot of networking, and also they can get group organizational benefits. They can do that by, just like you people are doing here tonight. You're sitting in on some of these sessions, some of these great learning sessions. And these are good things that you can benefit by joining Kiwanis. Group liability coverage. This is really important because when you have an event, you don't have to worry about if somebody gets hurt and they're going to sue you, because you have the group liability coverage through Kiwanis. So anytime that somebody gets hurt, they're going to go to Kiwanis International and they're going to handle it. You don't have to get involved. That is such a big thing to take off your shoulders. And personal growth satisfaction goes along with some of the other things we talked about, and making new and like-minded friends. That would refers to the kinds of things that you're doing with working with children and doing community services.
I want to throw in that whenever I induct a new Kiwanis member or I recruit a new Kiwanis member, I try to emphasize the fact, and to me it is a fact, that they're not joining a club, they're becoming members of a very, very large extended family with 200,000 adult members in 82 countries all over the world. And there is literally no place in the world that a Kiwanian can't go that they won't have a fellow Kiwanian somewhere nearby who's ready to have your back. And I really experienced that in a very real way when my daughter Corinne, when she was doing her master's degree in Western Maryland, got very sick and had to be hospitalized. And she was taken by ambulance to Huntington, I'm sorry, not Huntington, but to Morgantown, West Virginia. And her mother and I drove there, very worried about her. And when we were in her hospital room, I got a phone call. from a local number, and I had no idea who that could have been. Well, it was a guy who's a friend now. He's a member of the Kiwanis International Board. And he told me that, hey, your friend Steve Hill called and said your daughter is hospitalized in the town where my club is, and I got your back. Whatever you need, we'll take care of it. If you need a place to sleep, if you need something, whatever you need, we've got you. Now, this is a Kiwanian I never met before in my life. And he was willing to do that for me, sight unseen, without ever having met. And I found that to be a very powerful thing. And it put a whole new light on my Kiwanis membership. Now, I'm pretty confident that every one of you has a story like that. Everyone has a Kiwanis family story that you can share when you're recruiting a new Kiwanis member. And I'd encourage you to think on those stories and be ready to talk about them, because it's very, very powerful. Okay, Bob, all yours.
Okay. Next, we have a guide to engaging new members, sponsors, and partners. Okay, so this is where we're getting into how are we going to get people's attention in that 1 minute that we have on the elevator or wherever it might be. So it's important to grab their attention. And one of the notes that I wrote down is make a statement, something like, did you know that Kiwanis sponsors the local Key Club here in the high school? And that Key Club is the largest youth organization in the world. And that right there has got to really wake somebody up, because all of a sudden they say, oh my goodness, Kiwanis sponsors these Key Clubs. They may know who the Key Club is, but even if they don't, when they hear that it's the largest youth community service organization in the world, it's just like, wow, that really grabs people's attention.
Let me say, there's another way to grab people's attention, and it's actually simpler than that. Wear your Kiwanis pin, wear your Kiwanis clothes, wear something. You should always be wearing something with that K on it, because you'd be surprised. People will look at that and they'll ask you about it. Hey, what does that mean? And that's your perfect introduction to let them know about Kiwanis.
Thank you. Okay, next, engage them in service. So again, I can't say this enough. I've already said it probably 4 or 5 times, but you have to relate it to your community and things that you've done. Or when I say you, I'm talking about your club. Things that you've done that maybe they weren't aware that happened because of Kiwanis. And I put another note there because I just sat in on the previous session. I don't know how many people did, but one of the things that jumped out to me was joining versus belonging. I think that is such a good statement. So what you're telling people is it's not something that you just want to join. It's something that you're going to belong to, and people are going to belong to you as well as you belonging to the organization. Respecting their time, telling people that you know that they're busy. We're only looking for you to take a little bit of time, even if you can only spend 1 hour a week, you can be doing good things for the community and yourself. Next, George.
Just
You're
switched
there.
it.
Yeah,
Yep.
okay. Elements of a 1 minute speech. Why my club? What do you love about your club and your community? Make sure you're relating those two things together. And so whatever it might be, relationships and friendships. And again, something that's happened recently for the community because Kiwanis was involved with it. And what's your community impact? Pick a service project that makes you proud of your club. Think of a young person or a group your club has mentored. Builders Club, Key Clubs are always good examples. I think real good example might be, for example, our club. We have builders clubs that come to our meetings once a month, and they present things that they're going to be doing over the next several months. And when you listen to a sixth grader who's at the middle school level and a builders club person, and they tell you the things that they're going to do, they're very nervous, and you wonder whether they're going to get through it or not. And all of a sudden, when you hear that same person who has become a key clubber, and they're in their junior or senior year, they're getting ready to go to college, you say, oh my gosh, 4 years ago, you wouldn't believe that this person would be here where they are today. And they will tell you, many of them will tell you that it's because of Key Club that they were able to get where they were. Let me just give you guys a couple of examples, which you probably already know. I mean, our past governor, Elise, came through the system. Will Bradford does an outstanding job for us all the time. And he's come through the system, and he's also in charge of the Key Clubs. And Brian, who's done a fantastic job putting all this education together, he's come through the Key Club systems as well. So those are real good examples of how our Kiwanis Club and Key Clubs, Builders Clubs, all work together, and we bring out a good product. And how do we impact? More hearts and more hands mean more opportunities for service and partnership. Let me tell you that my motto when I was president, and it really, I think people still remember it, it's teamwork makes the dream work. And when you think about that, that's how you're getting things accomplished, because you can't do everything on your own, but that teamwork is going to create good bonding and good dreams coming true for the community and for kids, most importantly. Okay, next, George. Okay, so
This should be fun.
yeah, normally when I do a presentation, I like to have a little breakout session. Okay, obviously a breakout session isn't going to work here, but so what I'd like to do is, I'm sure that everybody has a 1-minute speech, or most people do. So what I'd like to do is at this time, have somebody volunteer to give their 1-minute speech. So if you just raise your hand, George will
This
recognize.
is Cindy from Fairfield.
Yay, Cindy.
Hey, thanks for the presentation. If I met up with somebody who asked me about Kiwanis, they would probably be seeing me at a SLP meeting or a function to do with the youth, because that is where I get the most joy in Kiwanis. But I would tell them, back in 1980, when my brother was lieutenant governor of Key Club and I was just about to enter high school, he asked his little sister to type up some newsletters, which we actually used a typewriter back then, and cut and paste some comics, make some inspirational quotes that I could find in books, and motivate the 12 clubs that he was set to motivate in his division. I was very curious, and when I entered high school, found that Key Club really checked the boxes for me. As a lifelong Girl Scout, when you get into high school, sometimes the opportunities aren't there for scouting that they were when you were younger. And I was looking for something in leadership and service, and something where I could use some skills, whether it be speaking in front of a small group or putting on a small food drive or whatever it was. And the leadership experience I received was life-changing. And I know that into my adulthood, it has really been the catalyst for me to become who I have become. I am honored to be an advisor to 3 of the Key Clubs in the town I grew up in. Many people know me in town. I'm on the town board of 40 members. We're a 65,000 member town. And I'm always the first one to maybe offer our Key Club for service, but also to be there to congratulate them with scholarships, to sit in the auditorium and cheer them on that night, to thank their parents for raising amazing kids, to maybe ask those parents to become members. Maybe not now, but when things settle down and they become empty nesters, it's a better time for many. but people know Cindy Parham in Fairfield is basically a lifelong member of Key Club and now a 32 member of Kiwanis. But I do bring most of the joy from Kiwanis into my service with youth, and especially the Key Leader program that we sponsor. But Key Club, those 4 years are such a time of change, so many people's lives. And if we could just give that attaboy or attagirl and say, you're going to be okay, and we're going to be here to support you, whether it be financially or just a little bit of time. You know, I am, and our club is going to be there for you. So more than a minute, I know, but I just wanted you to get to know me a little bit and understand that if I could just work with Key Clubbers and the youth that Kiwanis supports, I would have a very gratifying career as a Kiwanian for the rest of my life, really. And I'm glad I could be there for that age group. I get a lot out of it, and I'll never stop.
That's
Cindy.
great, Cindy.
Cindy, thank you very much. And you know, that's again the personal story. You know, the 2 or 3 that I mentioned before with Elise and Will and Brian. You know, here we can add another one. She's coming through, had a good experience with Key Club, and because of that, she became a Kiwanian. She wants to continue to work with the Key Clubbers, and God bless you for that, because they're the ones that are the future leaders of the world. And so I'm glad that.
I agree. Thank you.
Yep. Anybody else want to give us a?
Bob, Brian Morrison said in the chat a little bit earlier that the Hyannis Kiwanis Club is currently bringing in 2 new members and grooming 3 others. And I'd like to give Brian an opportunity to tell us about that, because it's to bring new members in under these circumstances that's a good thing. It's a remarkable thing. And I'd kind of like to hear how they've gone about that.
Sure. Hi, how are you? How's everybody doing?
Hey, Brian.
Good, Brian.
Really, it's just we have a Kiwanis Facebook page, like I'm sure a lot of clubs do, and I just keep reposting it and just keep adding stuff to it. And networking has been very big. My sister is in the club. My mother's in my club. So my sister does a lot of stuff in the community, as do I. And through that, she found a former Kiwanian from the Bahamas who had just moved to the area. And she kept seeing the notes from what my club was posting and ran into my sister. They got to talking and found out that I was, you know, her brother. Or my sister said, yeah, my brother runs Hyannis Kiwanis. So she put her in touch with me, and she came to a meeting last week, and I have her application right here. The other gentleman came from Berenstain, Mass, somewhere out there in central part of the state, I think. And he's a former Kiwanian as well, and just happened to bump into him in the supermarket and started talking about Kiwanis. And he goes, "You guys have clubs around here?" And I said, "Yes." And so now I have his application in. So those are 2 that are coming in. And as you know, I'm a police officer, so it's funny. One of the ones that's grooming, I pulled them over and, you know, for a traffic violation, and just started talking. And he's like, "Yeah, I'm new to the area, so I wasn't really paying attention. You know, I really want to start doing stuff with the community." So I told him all about Kiwanis. You talk about 1 minute. It was kind of a 1 minute. My 1 minute speech is basically just talking about the way Kiwanis makes me feel, some of the things we do internationally, some of our partners like UNICEF and such. What I like best about it is going away to the decons. Unfortunately, we can't do that right now. And it was just a quick, short speech of what we do and how it makes you feel. And so he told his wife, so there's 2 more now that we're grooming. And another one is an old friend of mine from high school that he's like, "You know what, you've been beating me up for a couple of years, so I'm finally going to join." So, yeah, it's just basically by word of mouth and by using social media, and just like you guys say, keep talking about Kiwanis.
Thank you, Brian.
That's terrific.
That's a
You know,
good
the
story.
whole the whole social media aspect of this is something that sometimes we neglect. It's free most of the time to use Facebook or Twitter or the social media outlets. Most communities have a community page or 2 or 3 community pages where you can post things about your meetings and your activities and get people interested in the organization. And you can even post links to meetings if you choose to share those. We've had some good luck in Northampton, Massachusetts with our 2-year-old Kiwanis Club with recruiting members through social media combined with personal relationships. But we started out 2 years ago with 15 members. We lost some of the charter members, but we're at 25 right now. And a lot of that has come in because of our social media activity. And as we get a new member in, and I'm sure everyone does this, as we get a new member, we always tell them their first job is to bring in another member. Before they do anything else, that's your first task. And that's worked out fairly well. How about some other folks? Do we have any more success stories that folks would like to share?
George, I could share one. Okay,
Yeah.
so our club, our club is a fairly large club. We're over 100. But what we did, and we've actually brought in 3 new members since April. No, since May. Ever since the international said they were going to waive their fees, we used that as a tool. And what we did was we went back and we asked all of our members that brought people to any function, whether it be a dinner meeting or to one of the other service projects, that go back and readdress with them now that, hey, it's free membership. So the 3 members that came on all had attended a previous dinner meeting, but had not made any commitment. But when we went back, again, it's that follow-up. They have now our members. So we're pretty pleased with that.
Would anyone else like to share? I'm sure there are some good stories here.
I don't have anything that good, George, but one of our members came in from one of our, from the Army. He's a recruiter. And he got orders to go to Japan, so he brought in his replacement to the club. And she already has someone else from her office in line. But I got to talk to her to try and get them in through this COVID stuff, but we're going to get them after it's over anyway.
Mhm.
But one of our partners, the Army, we've got them in the club.
Great.
I'll advance the slide here. As soon as I
Okay.
figure out where I am.
It should
There
be
you
making the
go.
ask. Okay.
Making the ask.
Okay. So now that we've put everything out there in terms of, what our 1-minute speech should be about, and some people did very good job of talking about Kiwanis and things that how it means, what it means to them. So now it's just getting that question out there and saying, okay, can I get you to come to one of our next meetings? Or more importantly, and even better, is can you come to one of our service events that we have? We got something coming up in next month. Would you be willing to come and just see how the event is run? And those are probably the best 2 opportunities to get somebody involved with the organization. Or you can even have them say, would you like to speak with anybody else from our club? I mean, that's another idea, because sometimes they may say, oh yeah, you're very prejudiced on this, but you could give them a referral, let them talk to another member. So there's just a few ideas for you.
Bob and George, one of the things that you have to be careful with when you invite somebody who is not a Kiwanian to help you with a service project or a community event, you want to make sure that you have them sign into your club as a volunteer so that they will then be covered by the Kiwanis insurance. Because if they haven't signed in, they are not covered.
Thank you. That's a very good
It's
point.
very good advice. And if there's any doubt in your mind about something, we do have a district risk manager. And the last time I checked, that was Brad Kastner from the Westfield Kiwanis Club, who is a professional, and Brad is always able to answer any questions along those lines. I don't know if it's going to be Brad next year, but it's Brad right now. Okay, let's see. Yes. So,
Okay, so the next thing is the purpose of membership program. Okay, so I'm just going to talk about this very briefly, only because we already have something else in place later on next week. It's going to have a nice presentation. So experience has taught us that growth happens in clubs that plan to grow. Does your club have a membership chair and an active membership committee? Does it set annual growth goals? Are membership plans reviewed and revised regularly? Most clubs, I think, have membership goals, but they may not even realize it. Now, what reason I say that is because when you set up your budget, you have in your budget how many new members that you're going to be bringing in. Maybe not everybody is aware of that, so maybe it needs to be a communication between whoever's setting up the budget for the club and the membership chair. So those are just a couple of things to remember. And like I said, there's going to be a seminar next Friday on the 28th from 6 until 9. And down below is the link for it. And the two presenters are the governor elect designee, Dennis Murphy, and a Kiwanis International representative, Emily Sharp. She is our divisional rep, I believe. Is that right, George?
Emily is our, I think the term is still area director.
Area director, okay.
Emily was on the call. I don't know if she still is. Emily, could you, if you can you say hi? And maybe she's not. She was kind of going in and out.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, Emily is a membership specialist, and she's charged with working with our district membership team to help us meet our membership goals, organize membership events, and generally make sure we get the things done that we want to get done. She's very knowledgeable, and Dennis has considerable experience in membership growth. So between the two of them, I'm sure it will be a very good program. And that is a 3-hour that's from 6 to 9 p.m. And I will before we finish up, I will take that link on the bottom and I'll post it in the chat. So if anybody wants to register for that, they'll be able to do so pretty easily.
Right.
Okay.
Thank you, George.
You're welcome.
Okay, next. Okay, so steps to execute successful programs. Again, this is just a quick summary. That's slide number 11, George.
Oh, I'm sorry.
There you go.
Oh, I can't grab it from there. I have to go onto a different screen. Don't worry about it.
Okay.
But you want to be
right there is fine.
You want to be there. Okay.
Yep. Okay. So this is steps to execute a successful program. And again, this is probably stuff that they will go over in the other meeting, but you survey your members, have a current community needs survey, stakeholders buy-in, meaning that when you come up with a program, make sure that your board is on board with it. Participation from members, including your SLPs, always a good idea. We've had a couple of programs where we've included the SLPs and it's been very successful. Host a meet and greet. It's always a good idea to have a successful program. Use the social media to reach out to more prospects, just as George was mentioning. Social media is very, very important these days. Set up meaningful and attainable goals. If the goals are not attainable, then it's really not going to be a successful program. And then try to secure some nice prizes, etc. And then follow up. And I just want to interject a quick story here. How I became a member of Kiwanis. My wife was a member of Kiwanis about 5 years before I was. And after about 2 or 3 years, after she started getting her feet a little wet, she finally said to me, "When are you going to become a member?" And at the time I said to the club president, I said, "How many members are there right now?" He says, "Well, there's 87 members." I said, 87 members. I said, "When we're getting close to 100, you let me know because I want to be the 100th member." And he just looks at me and just, yeah, okay. So a couple of years go by, I hadn't joined yet, and the numbers were not increasing. So I said, okay, screw you guys, I'm done with this. I said, I'm gonna join and I'm gonna bring in the 100th member. Well, about a year after that, I became vice president, and the way our club is set up is that the vice president is supposed to be in charge of membership. So I said, okay, so now I guess I really do need to bring in that 100 member. I got to come up with a program. So we did have a pretty successful membership drive that year. We brought in 16 members, but we were still shy of the 100th member. So all of a sudden, the next year, I become president. And so I got up there at my acceptance speech for president, and I said, my number one goal is to bring in the 100th member this year while I'm president. And they said, we only have 81 members. I said, we're going to bring in the 100th member. So in September of that year, we brought in not only the 100th, but the 101 member. So that's the kind of thing. And how did it happen? Because every meeting when I was president, I said, okay, we just got 4 new members, so we still need to get 14 more. And everybody, oh my God. Every meeting you remind them. So it's follow up. That's really what the whole crux of being successful and getting members is all about. So our last slide, summary for the program. So a 1-minute elevator speech and making the ask are 2 very important elements in recruiting members. You need to be brief, but enticing enough with personal experiences for someone to have further interest. Make sure you ask potential members to take the next step. Communication and keeping people engaged in the process are the key to success. So that's the end of this presentation. Unless George wants
Let me throw, well, I'm going to throw in a side note there. This is an important slide, and it's really, really significant. That last line, communication and keeping people engaged in the process are key to success. That's how you bring in members. But now you have to keep them. And it's the same thing. Communication and engagement is the key to keeping members in the club. So don't just bring them in, give them a job to do, get them involved, get them on a committee, get them started on the board, whatever it takes. But don't let members drift away. If you don't get them engaged and don't make them feel like they're part of the club and part of the decision-making process right away, you stand a serious chance of losing them. That's my commercial. Okay.
We're going to get into questions, but before we do that, I just want to thank everybody for attending, because I've been kind of sitting, I haven't hit every session, but I've hit at least parts of every session. So I was taking numbers of people that were attending each session. And the highest session was the very first one at 42 people, okay? As the nights went on, the 8 o'clock sessions, really, the numbers were not good. They were like 20 or less. I want to thank everybody because we hit 28 tonight. So thank you all for participating. I hope you got something out of it. And now I know there's probably some questions, so we'll go ahead and address those questions.
I have a question for Bob Morrison. He's still there.
What,
John,
Brian?
Brian Morrison?
Brian
Yes,
Morrison?
sir. I'm still
Uh,
here.
I wonder if you could deputize us, because that's the easiest way to get somebody stopped so they can their speech.
It was a good way. I say you either have to pay a ticket or fill this application out.
I wasn't going to ask if you had given him that choice, because I don't want to know.
I thought that was pretty good. That's the best elevator speech excuse I've heard. Thanks, Brian.
Absolutely.
Anybody else with questions?
I just have one quick thing to add. It's Cindy. I already talked too much, but I have one thing to add. I think we have to lift other people up in other Kiwanis clubs. And I just want to give a pat on the back to Brian Morrison, because him and Mike Dubin from Cape Cod really walk the walk when it comes to helping youth. And one of the things that they've done over the years at the district convention for the Key Club, which brings in 850 to 900 students, is they bring 2 busloads of kids to the conference every year. They're lucky enough to have had governors and lieutenant governors, several the past years. And one of the things I thought was really cool, a very silent hero type of thing to do for the Key Club, but my advisors and I thought it was amazing. Right after the dance on Saturday night, they had 87 students with them, and they had the kitchen make 87 chocolate and vanilla milkshakes, and they brought them to a lobby of the hotel, and every single one of their students participated in this milkshake break. But it was just like those little things that make you, differentiate you. And I never forgot it, because it really made an impression on me, because I think we all need to be reminded that these interclubs and these conferences are just a way of sharing, but also of stealing the ideas and stealing this kind of fun stuff that people do that want to make people be a better Kiwanian and a better support to our youth. So good job, Brian.
Thanks, Cindy. Thanks. That's really important for the kids. I mean, they work hard, as do you as the adults, but the kids work hard, and especially that weekend they're up late hours, doing their breakout sessions and such. So it was just a nice little touch just to show them that we are watching, and we know that they're working hard and doing the right thing.
So I would like to ask a question.
Sure, Amanda.
I had to step away for a couple of minutes, and perhaps you addressed this while I was not on the conference, but what are thoughts on reaching out to former members who have been members in the past and have left the club for whatever reason? Has that been an avenue that has yielded any renewed memberships to your knowledge?
George, you want to address that?
I honestly can't really, I have not, in the clubs where I've been doing membership, that is not something that's really brought in much success. But that speaks to it. That speaks to another issue. If you've got an active membership committee, one of the things that should be happening is when a member leaves the club, you should be discussing, you should be talking to them and doing an exit interview to find out why they left. Because sometimes it'll be reasons that you don't even know about. And it's good for the club leadership to try to nail those things down and to try to avoid making the same mistake twice. I have, so no, Amanda, I can't say that I've seen a great deal of success with that in some situation now, but most of my experience with that has been trying to revive clubs that have already gone under. And sometimes a good many years have passed in between the last revival effort and the current one. And people get older, people age, and their interests change, and they join other organizations. So they're not always amenable to that.
Okay.
I'm not saying that effort shouldn't be made, because perhaps it should be.
Well, I'm just thinking of one member in particular from our club who left because of personal circumstances that I think may be different now. And
I can think of a half a dozen from Westfield we could reach out to. And you know, every club is different. Every member is different, and we have to address people as individuals. But it's certainly a good idea to review those old rosters once in a while and see if there's anybody you can entice back into the club. You're absolutely right. You have absolutely nothing to lose by making that effort.
No, and certainly to let someone know that they're missed is only a positive.
Like Robin Parent from West Springfield, there's probably some past members we've got to reach out to for your club building efforts.
George, we had tried a remember campaign,
yeah.
and we didn't really get anybody back. And we tried to have like the members that were in there sign those invites to a meeting, and because they wouldn't know a lot of the new members. But yeah, we didn't have a lot of success with our effort to do that, going through the old rosters.
Okay.
But you never know. But if I had a situation like Amanda did, where, you know, she thinks, I would definitely reach out to that person.
Amanda, I don't know the particulars, but I know that there was one person in our club, and it's one of the three that joined. She was a previous member. I don't know how we got her back, because I don't know how it all happened, but I do know that she was a previous member. So maybe this enticement of free membership, maybe you can go back to some of these previous members and see if that might work.
Always good to have a nice carrot.
Yeah.
Thanks, Bob.
Yeah. Anybody else?
Well, if not, thank you everyone for being part of this program. Especially thanks to those of you who joined at 6 o'clock and are still hanging in here at 9 o'clock. God bless you for having that kind of an attention span. We really appreciate it. I hope you folks got something out of this. I think you may be contacted by the district education team for some feedback. And, you know, please be kind, because, you know, nobody likes getting fired. So there you go.
And I want to thank George for being the moderator tonight. He was one of those who've been here from 6 until 9. And for those of you that don't know, I think many of you do know that he was approved this past weekend to run for international vice president by our board, our district board. And we want to wish him all the best of luck this coming year in that endeavor.
Thank you, Bob.
George,
Yes, sir.
not only did we stay in here from 6 to 9, we stayed awake.
Well, you know, the good thing was most of the time we weren't on camera. So I won't question anybody whose eyes closed for a couple of minutes. You know, God bless you. It's okay.
George, can you send out the link to that Friday session, next Friday session?
Yeah, can you bear with me 1 second? Let me put it in the chat so you can just grab it. Is that okay?
Yep, that's fine.
Okay, bear with me because I have to sneak onto another page and go copy and paste. Let's see. Okay, then. So if I now go to the chat window to everyone, and here comes that. Okay, there's the link. And you can just copy that and paste it into your browser and go sign up for that membership session.
Okay. Thank you.
That will be a very comprehensive seminar on membership organization, how to organize your committee, all of the nuts and bolts, how to run a successful drive, how to use the resources that are available from Kiwanis International and from the district. I think you'll find it very worthwhile.
Okay.
George, how do we grab that chat? I am very technologically challenged.
For you, Jack, I'll send you an email.
Okay, thank you.
Because I know that's the easiest way to deal with it.
Thank you.
And if anybody else wants that as an email, just shoot me an email and I'll reply with the information. Okay?
Okay, everybody,
All
thank you very much.
Thanks again, ladies and
Thank you.
gentlemen. I'm going to be,
Thank
Have a great night.
all
Good
right.
night.
Good night now.